Andre and the toe X-rays negative. Anything else you can tell us about that at this point?
No, I don't know if he got stepped on or whatever, but it was really bothering him. Almost didn't return after halftime, gave it a run, and you can see he was limping, so we got him out to see if the doc could work on it a little bit, but wasn't able to return.
Is there anything that you can expect for the next day or two working on it? Any indication yet for when you might be able to play?
Yeah, I'll be reevaluated tomorrow, see how it feels overnight, and be day to day.
Frank, how deflating was that after the first half? It seemed like there was a lot of energy in the building with him coming in, and then starting the third quarter not having him out there. Did you feel like that had made an impact in that second half?
I don't think so. I think we got a next man up mentality with this group, and obviously we're all excited to see Dre in a Lakers uniform, and it didn't play out as long as we wanted, but we knew we had plenty to get the job done, and we just fell short.
All right, let's go to Dave.
Frank, I think you guys were a +7 in the 7 minutes Drummond played in the first quarter, maybe prior to bothering the foot. What did you see out of that group and his impact early on in the game?
Yeah, well, he draws a lot of attention in the paint, and during that stretch we really shot the ball well from the perimeter. Something we really, we had some drill work in practice yesterday, and to create a lot of open shots for guys to get some live shooting work, and I thought that part paid off. We're playing the right way offensively, generating high quality looks, and Andre, rolling to the basket and being in the paint, draws a lot of attention, and guys knock down shots during that stretch. So he definitely benefited us during that.
Dan Noisy.
Hey Frank, I was hoping you could clear this up. So at some point in the first half, Andre's toe started bothering him, and then I know there was that delay in game, start the second half, kind of what happened in that short amount of time, and we were kind of down here.
Yeah, he was just, they were working on it at halftime. He came out, and they were still working on it as we were about to start the half, we expected him to be in there, but they were still working on it as the half was about to begin. So we had to go to Trez. We had to sub Trez.
And it wasn't anything that was bothering him, to your knowledge, before tonight?
I don't believe so, no.
All right, let's go to Kyle Goon.
Hey Frank, you guys have obviously just taken a bunch of hits in the last couple of weeks. I'm just kind of wondering, what do you tell your team, and what do you maybe even tell yourself sort of about this next stretch if you guys have to keep going without Andre? I mean, does that add up cumulatively, or or can you find a way to kind of keep your attitude maybe even?
You mean taking a lot of hits in terms of guys being out?
Yeah.
Referring to? Yeah, we don't worry about that. We're about the guys in uniform. We know we have enough. We have a deep team. We've been playing really good basketball, getting better each game during this stretch, and we're confident that we can win. The schedule gets really tough, over the next couple of weeks, but our group is going to keep working. We're going to grind. We're going to prepare, and we're going to believe in one another. And we expect to win.
Hey Andre, could you take us through how you first hit or injured the toe, and then what was going on at halftime before you tried to come out in that third quarter?
Yeah, in the first quarter when I came out, Brooke had stepped on my foot, and I didn't really think anything of it. I came back in the second quarter, it was hurting a little bit more, and then after halftime, I finally took my sock off to look, and my whole toenail was gone. So it was just all bad from there. I couldn't walk or run, so I just told coach to take me out.
And what's the process at this point, Andre, in terms of what you do next?
As of right now, I'm just gonna what do you do for a toe? I don't know. I'm not really sure what to do. I'm just gonna talk to the training staff and find out what's the best thing to do to get back as quick as possible.
I suppose it's a little harder to evaluate your first game given the toe injury, but how did you put together how things started for you and what you saw in your first evening here?
Yeah, in that first quarter, a lot of energy from our guys and myself. We're having a lot of fun out there. Just unfortunate for that to happen in the first game.
Dan?
Hey, Andre, you said unfortunate. I mean, before the game, we could see, you didn't have your warm up side, you had the sweat going. Like, you look pretty excited to be playing for the first time in a month and a half. How frustrating is it to have that kind of taken away by a toenail? It's something so small.
I mean, I don't know what to say at this point. It's just unfortunate, like I said, it's unfortunate that it happened in the first game, but there's not much I can do about it. Just try to find a way to get better and come back ready to play next time.
Kyle Goon.
Hey, Andre. Still trying to process everything you're saying just now, but was there any measure of relief that you got when you learned that the X-ray came back negative and that there, isn't the potential for a really long-term injury?
Yeah, I was definitely very happy to see that it was a negative result on the X-ray. So it's just a day by day, just icing it, taking care of it, making sure I get it wrapped up to, seal the missing toenail that's not there.
Dave.
So, Andre, making me cringe here, and you say it. How painful is this? I mean, have you ever experienced something like this before?
No, I mean, I've lost a toenail before, but this one was very painful. I'm looking at, you see me looking down at it because I'm like, I can't even put shoes on. I have on flip-flops right now, so it's very, very painful.
Got it.
All right, and we have time for one more with Andre. Let's finish with Rachel Nichols, please.
Hey, Andre, what's sort of the feel of the team and kind of where things are for you right now once you did finally get out with them? That what they're missing and what kind of boost you could provide, the idea that you could be there and kind of go through that at least at the beginning. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, if you saw the first couple minutes of the game that I was out there, just the energy defensively that I brought, and it kind of boosted everybody on both ends of the court. So again, just unfortunate to, have this happen to me in the first game. Kind of was a little deflating for me, but, my head is high. Going to take it day by day.
Robert, but we are now joined by ESPN senior writer. You have to have your first name start with an R to be on today's show.
Yeah.
Look
at that. Ara.
In the second game of tonight's ESPN doubleheader, Andre Drummond expected to make his Lakers debut against the Bucks. Lakers, of course, currently fourth in the West, 5 games ahead of that play-in scenario, which is really the line for them, Ramona, until they get AD and LeBron back. What are your expectations for Drummond's debut tonight?
Well, I think he's going to play a lot, Rach. I think he's going to be effective because he's going to be excited to be out there for the first time in a couple of months here. They're excited about him. He had a good practice. He's in shape. So I know he hasn't been playing, but he's in shape and he's ready to go. He's a little rusty. He's going to have to get back that touch around the rim, and he's going to have to get that touch back out there. But he's excited to be out there. I think the bigger question for me is just chemistry-wise, what does this do to Marc Gasol? I mean, that's a proud guy out there who's giving up his starting spot here because this is what they needed to do to get Andre Drummond. And it's, Marc Gasol goes to the bench now. And he has not had a great year for the Lakers by his standards, by their standards. He's coming back from a bout of COVID. That was tough for him. But this is not what he signed up for in LA. And Frank Vogel's got a job on his hands of managing that.
What do you think, Robert, of that chemistry issue? And we know that Mark is, he's normally a good get-along kind of guy, but he's a guy who's also, done a lot of things in this league.
Yeah, it gets to a point in the league where you understand your role. And as a player, you want what's best for the team. And Mark's that type of guy. He knows what's best for this team is for him to step aside. He knows he's not playing well. He's still not in shape from that COVID episode. So hopefully, this will give him time to really focus on his body. This is time where he can go get extra conditioning to be ready, because you're going to need Marc Gasol. You're going to need his outside presence, because we know LeBron loves playing with him. He loves his ability to see the game, because he always talks about his IQ. So with him on the floor, he makes the people, LeBron and AD, much better.
If this season in particular, and especially this moment in the season, has taught us anything, look at all the injuries to the top players.
Right.
Look at the injuries to, you've seen it with Joel Embiid, LeBron and AD, and Steph being out. You've seen it so much. So you need guys, you need bodies. Now, if you allow Mark to relax and get himself back into shape, you're going to get an opportunity to play. This has happened to every player that I've ever played with that understands roles and what your opportunities are. Some days you'll be in the lineup, some days you won't. If you look at last year in the postseason, Dwight and certain guys played in certain series, they didn't play another series. So it's all about your skill set and what you bring. The worst thing that Marc Gasol could do is be upset, be frustrated, allow himself to get out of shape, but he's a professional. This is what he's going to do. And I think he probably probably saw this coming. He's had conversations before Drummond signed. He was like, hey, what's going on? And it's like, look, I want what's best for the team. Are you okay with that? Should we waive you, allow you to go someplace else if you're going to be upset? That wasn't the case, so I believe that he's on board.
And when we look at Andre Drummond, Ramona, obviously the Lakers went after him pretty hard, didn't get the trade going for Kyle Lowry that they were interested in. Can you take us behind the scenes at all? How did they pitch him, and how did he end up picking there? Because, you know, he had other places that he could have gone.
Look, this is a showcase for him. He is a rental, and I know he said, I hope it's for longer than this year, but if you know how the salary cap works and the hard cap works, like, unless he wants to play for a vet minimum next year, which he is worth a lot more than a vet minimum, or even that $9 million exception that all those teams have. I mean, he's worth a lot more than that. So this is an audition for him to show what he can do on a winning team. He has not been in a situation like this before in his NBA career. I think he's really happy to be here, really excited. And he turned down roles with teams that have more money to pay him in the offseason to be in Los Angeles. And the way the Lakers got him, and they essentially said, you're going to be our starting center. You're going to play a lot of minutes. You're going to be able to showcase yourself in a winning situation. And he had to kind of look within himself and say, do I care more about the money? Do I care more about establishing myself in a place where maybe they could re-sign me, where they have the money to do that? Or do I care more about putting myself on a championship team, contending for a title like he never has before? And does that establish your value more, especially if he's going to be starting and playing a lot of minutes?
He asked himself, do I want to spend part of the winter in Los Angeles after spending winters in Cleveland and Detroit? I mean, these are the questions that go through a man's mind. Let's talk about the Celtics. They entered tonight's game against the Mavs.
Conversation with Tatum from yesterday, where he talks about what the Celtics need to do to improve their chances in the East. But first, I'm excited for Game 2 of our doubleheader tonight. Andre Drummond makes his Lakers debut against the Milwaukee Bucks. Guess what, y'all? I don't like this move at all. I love it. This is a man who can help you win without having the ball in his hands. He's an elite rebounder who's averaged over 13 rebounds a game for his career. This is a man who can still finish at the rim, and LeBron has proven over the years he'll find you at the rim. This is a hugely important move for the defending champs that can help them defend their title. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Davis has been out. Even when he comes back, we don't know if he's going to be 100%. We suspect that LeBron James will, but he'll still need help. If you got that big man, Andre Drummond, grabbing rebounds, it helps the Los Angeles Lakers. Make no mistake about that. I'm loving this. For more on Andre Drummond and the Lakers, let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Michael Wilbon. Wilbon, let's get right to it. Drummond to the Lakers. What does this mean for the Los Angeles Lakers in your mind?
Stephen A., I thought you were setting up an argument for the two of us until I heard your reasoning play out when you said you don't like it, you love it. I love it too. Stephen A., when you have this kind of size and strength, it makes the whole team, they should just stand taller. Because you mentioned the rebounding. Drummond is one of the top 10 rebounders ever. So I'm going to upset the analytics people. You don't need to go numbers. You look at the way he plays. LeBron James figures out the style of play he needs to resort to no matter who's around him. So we got this short period of time to adjust. Who better to have than LeBron James figure that out first and then get Drummond to see the possibilities. So with Anthony Davis and LeBron back, now they got to be back healthy, Stephen A. If they're limping through the final month of the season, I don't know that even Drummond can help them. But if they are healthy and you've got Drummond, to me, the Lakers stay in that favored spot. No matter what the standings say, they stay in that favored spot in the Western Conference.
The temptation, obviously, is to look at the Brooklyn Nets and talk about this collision course that seems inevitable between them and the Los Angeles Lakers. But then you have to think about the Western Conference with Utah, with Denver, Dallas, Portland, Clippers, the Phoenix Suns. The list goes on and on. Who do you view as the biggest threat to the Lakers in the West right now?
Stephen A., with this Aaron Gordon acquisition, I may be putting Denver back in that spot. I think not only do we see strategically how it improves them after losing Grant and now coming with a different type of person in that position who's a little bit more of a playmaker, bigger, stronger, can also defend. I think even though Denver had lost 6 players from last year's conference final roster, I think I'm going to slide Denver back in there. And that's hard for me to do because I like what Utah's done the whole time. You know how high I am, how bullish I am on the Phoenix Suns. And the Clippers are there, but I'm going to say Denver because I think this picks up that entire team and gives them what they need to get back in the conference finals. Stephen, that's going to be a war. I think all 4 of those teams, and I believe you believe this too, each one of those teams is a threat to the Lakers, particularly if LeBron and AD are even a fraction off. That's all you need for one of those 4 teams to slip in.
But I'm not as nice as you. You hesitate to call teams out and just put the nail in their coffin. I do not. I'm not worried about anything in the West if the Lakers are healthy. It's just that simple. I'll be back with you in a second. The Mavs and Celtics will tip off. Lakers will host the Bucks. Andre Drummond will make his Lakers debut and start at center in place of Marc Gasol. It'll be Drummond's first game action since February 12th. Senior NBA insider, the one and only Adrian Wojnarowski is here right now. Woj, Andre Drummond was one of the most desired players in the buyout market. Why did this man choose the Lakers?
I think 2 primary reasons, Stephen. Number one, the chance to come in and start right away, and that was communicated to him that he'd have that opportunity. But to be on this stage in LA, remember, this is a player who's played his NBA career so far in Detroit and Cleveland and been in the playoffs just once in Detroit, and the chance to play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and do it in LA, at least for the next few months, was just too much for him to pass up. He had chances to go other places where he would have started, and they could have signed him with cap space longer term forward, but he wanted to play in LA, play with the Lakers.
I want to transition to my next subject of favorite. I love J.J. Redick, always have. He's a career 41.5% shooter from 3-point range. I'm wondering